You've spent your whole life doing everything that was expected of you. You built a career, raised a family, showed up when it mattered, and sacrificed more than most people will ever know. You gave your energy, your time, your heart, and you did it all without asking much in return. But now you're here, and maybe for the first time you're asking yourself something simple but powerful. Is this truly me? It's not an easy question. In fact, most of us avoid it for years. But what if asking it is the very thing that leads to something new? What if everything before now, the jobs, the titles, the responsibilities, the stress, was just preparation? Carl Jung, a brilliant psychologist, once said that life actually begins at 40. That before that, we're just researching, collecting experiences, building a version of ourselves that the world wants to see. But it's not the whole story. So here's a question for you, and I really want you to think about it. Have you been living the life you truly chose, or the life you were told to live? Let me know in the comments, because chances are you're not the only one feeling this way. And if this thought has ever crossed your mind even once, then maybe, just maybe, the best part of your life is still ahead. Think back to your younger years, your 20s, your 30s. Probably felt like a race, didn't it? You were figuring things out, trying to build something solid. Career, family, a reputation, stability. You were doing what needed to be done, and honestly, you did it well. You worked hard, showed up, sacrificed. There wasn't a lot of time to pause and wonder who you really were, because life was about survival, not reflection. That's what Jung called the research phase. Sounds odd at first, but it makes sense. In those years, you weren't fully being your true self, you were learning how to exist in the world. You were building something called a persona, the version of you that others could understand and accept. The provider, the achiever, the reliable one. It's like putting on a suit of armor every morning so you can handle whatever comes your way. And for a while, that armor really works. Protects you. It helps you get ahead. But over time, it starts to get heavy. You feel it, don't you? That weight. That quiet sense that maybe the life you've built, the one everyone sees and respects, doesn't tell the whole story of who you are. You may have followed every rule, checked every box, done everything right. But still, something inside feels unfinished. Like there's a part of you you haven't quite met yet. That's not failure. That's being human. We all create a version of ourselves to fit in, to succeed, to meet expectations. But now, at this stage of life, it's okay to take a step back and ask, is this the life I chose, or the one I thought I had to live? It's a hard question, I know, but it's also the start of something honest. And when you've lived through enough to see the difference between what looks right and what feels real, you're finally ready to begin again, this time as your full self. Somewhere along the line, maybe in your late 30s or your 40s or even well into your 50s, something starts to shift. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's more like a whisper that shows up in the background of your life. You're still doing the things you've always done, going to work, helping others, staying responsible, but deep down it just feels different. The goals you used to chase, they don't excite you like they used to. The roles you've played for years, they start to feel a little too tight, like clothes that don't quite fit anymore. And the strange part is, on the outside, everything still looks fine. Maybe even great. But inside, there's a quiet question growing louder. Is this really what I want now? That feeling can be confusing, even scary, because no one tells you this might happen. Society doesn't prepare you for it. You're told that your 20s and 30s are your prime years. The time to hustle, build, achieve. And once you've done that, the message is, you should be satisfied. But what if you're not? Here's the truth. This isn't a crisis. It's not you being ungrateful. It's not you being lost. It's a natural shift. And it happens to more people than you think. Midlife isn't the end of something. It's the beginning of clarity. You start to question things you never questioned before. Not because you're broken, but because you're waking up. Waking up to what truly matters to you now at this point in your life. So if you've been feeling that quiet unrest, like something is calling you, but you can't quite name it, don't ignore it. That's not something to fear. That's something to follow. It's the start of something deeper, something real. As this shift begins, something else happens, something subtle but powerful. You start seeing life a little differently, not just with your eyes, but with your heart. The things that once felt urgent, climbing the ladder, chasing recognition, proving yourself, don't seem to hold the same weight anymore. And for the first time, you're not just reacting to life. You're reflecting on it. It's not just a feeling, there's real science behind it. Studies show that around midlife, the brain starts changing in ways that actually help you regulate your emotions better. You become less reactive, more thoughtful. You start looking at your past not with regret, but with a kind of calm understanding. You start asking, what actually matters to me now? This is where the awakening begins. You begin to let go of all the outside noise, what society says you should want, what success is supposed to look like, who you were expected to be. And in that quiet space, a new kind of question rises up. Who am I really when no one's watching? That question doesn't come from a place of crisis. It comes from a place of wisdom. Because by now, you've lived enough to know that achievements don't always equal peace. Status doesn't always mean satisfaction. And keeping up appearances doesn't guarantee joy. So you begin to turn inward. Not in a selfish way, but in a deeply personal way. You start choosing what feels right instead of what just looks right. You begin to reconnect with the person you were before the world told you who to be. And maybe, for the first time in a long time, you allow yourself to consider this. You're not running out of time. You're just now stepping into the most meaningful part of it. As you start peeling back the layers of who you've been, something unexpected begins to show up. Parts of yourself that you've pushed aside for years. Feelings you didn't have time to deal with. Dreams you once had but buried under responsibilities. Maybe even some pain, the kind that's easy to keep quiet when life is moving fast. Carl Jung called this the shadow, the hidden side of you. Not evil, not shameful, just unspoken. The parts of yourself you had to put away in order to survive, succeed, or simply be accepted. In your younger years, ignoring that side might have felt necessary. There was no room for doubt, no time for softness. You had to be strong, focused, reliable. So you built walls around certain parts of yourself. The fear, the sadness, the longing for something more. But now, those parts are knocking again. And this time, they want to be seen. And here's the hard truth. Healing means you have to look at them. Not to blame yourself. Not to drown in guilt or regret. But to finally acknowledge the full story of who you are. Yes, it can be uncomfortable. Facing the dreams you didn't chase. Owning the mistakes you made. Admitting the loneliness that crept in, even when you were surrounded by people. But something powerful happens when you stop running from your shadow. You begin to feel whole. Because you were never meant to be perfect. You were meant to be real. This part of the journey isn't about fixing yourself. It's about welcoming every piece of you. The strong, the scared, the hopeful, the hurt. All of it belongs. And the more you allow it, the lighter you start to feel. Not because life got easier, but because you finally stopped pretending. So ask yourself gently, what part of me have I ignored that might still be asking for love, even now? It's not too late to answer. At this stage of life, something beautiful and rare becomes possible, wholeness. Not the kind that's about fixing your flaws or chasing perfection, but the kind that comes from accepting and integrating every part of who you are. Remember that persona you wore to get through life? And the shadow you've only just started to face? This is the part where those begin to come together. Where your past isn't something to hide, but something to honor. Because every step you took, even the painful ones, brought you here. Carl Jung called this process individuation, becoming who you were always meant to be. You're not shedding your old self completely. You're not starting over. You're simply choosing to realign. To stop living for what others expect, and start living according to what you truly value now, as the wiser, deeper, more grounded version of yourself. That might look like small changes. Spending more time on a creative pursuit you'd long forgotten. Rebuilding a relationship that still matters. Slowing down, not because you're giving up, but because you're finally allowing space to feel present. Living authentically doesn't mean everything is perfect. It just means it's true. And the truth is, fulfillment at this stage doesn't come from more achievements. It comes from meaning. From knowing that your choices reflect who you really are, not who you were expected to be. So ask yourself, if I stop pretending, stop performing, what kind of life would I begin building today? That answer may be the start of something richer than anything you've experienced before. Turning 40 isn't the end of your story. It's the start of a fresh, meaningful chapter. Up until now, you might have felt like life was about proving yourself, meeting expectations, or chasing goals that weren't truly yours. But now there's a new possibility, a chance to write your story on your own terms. The best isn't behind you. It's waiting quietly inside, ready to be discovered. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about uncovering the real you who's always been there beneath the surface. Yes, this journey takes courage. It asks you to embrace vulnerability, face fears, and let go of what no longer fits. But the reward is a life that feels whole, authentic, and deeply fulfilling. Remember, you don't have to walk this path alone. Whether it's through friends, community, therapy, or quiet self-reflection, support is there to help you step into this next phase with confidence and hope. So, as you stand at this crossroads, know this: life doesn't end at 40. It truly begins with you. Now, I want to hear from you. What's one dream or passion you've set aside over the years? Maybe waiting quietly inside, ready to be brought back to life. Share it in the comments below. Your story might just inspire someone else to take that next step. Remember, this journey is yours, but you don't have to walk it alone. Reach out, reflect, and when you're ready, take that first small step toward living a life that truly feels like you. Because the best is not behind you, it's waiting inside you.